AI is here. It is part of society. It is part of industry. It is part of the community that we live in. Technology allows ordinary people to do extraordinary things and extraordinary people to do ordinary things. And one of the focuses of the book is learning how to write a prompt. And so when I put a prompt into ChatGPT in the book, you'll see that the answer is italicized. So that's how you know it came from Chat. Again, to use the tool to teach the tool. And then I talk about copying and pasting and doing other things. But really the bottom line is, yes, we're going to learn how to ask better and better questions. And that's the key to this whole tool.
Welcome to Pages of Purpose. I'm your host, Isaac Smith. Today we will meet Suzanne Feit and her co-author, ChatGPT. Suzanne's book is titled Family Adventures from A to Z Using ChatGPT. It is a manual for practical AI use for families, educators, and really anyone interested in using technology for education. It is full of prompts, demos, and answers to questions about ChatGPT and how it works and how you can use it as a tool to enhance your life. Suzanne is a lifelong learner and educator. She has seen the full life cycle of technology entering the school system from the first Apple computers to what we now experience with artificial intelligence today. And today we have a very in-depth conversation about the nature of learning with technology and how everything that we need is on these tablets and phones around us and how the world has just completely changed. I want to make a point to recognize Suzanne's expertise on this topic as I do not hold back. I ask some very in-depth questions that I feel like some people in the audience might have just in the case of ChatGPT itself or AI in general. And she does a great job of making a case for AI and how it is practically used. I want to recognize that I do play the devil's advocate a couple of times, but really it's for the nature of the conversation. And she does a great job of presenting the case that I think is very relevant in today's world because AI is not disappearing anytime soon. We cover everything from the ethics of AI use to the practicality of everyday ChatGPT. And we also cover what writing looks like now in a world where ChatGPT can be used as a co-author, just as Suzanne does in her book. If you're new to the show, be sure that you like and subscribe before we get going so you never miss an episode. And with that out of the way, let's go to the interview. Suzanne, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Isaac. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this new tool that I have found and this new path that I'm about to embark and bring a bunch of people along with. So I'm very happy to be here and very excited about the opportunity to share it.
Well, I'm glad that you're here, and I shared this with you earlier, but I know from just going over your material, I'm talking to a real teacher. The definition of Robert Kiyosaki is someone who actually knows what they're talking about, someone who's been there, done that, and then has the ability to teach it. So before we get started, go ahead and just tell us a bit about who you are and tell us about what your book goes over.
Well, I am a lifelong educator. I started using technology in college when the computer was bigger than my whole room. And then eventually I learned programming, which really, to me, was mind-blowing because it taught me how to think and do things logically. And that's the key to everybody who's an educator, who's supporting people. We want to take things step by step. And so as I finished my degrees in early childhood education and special education. And I started in this industry of assistive technology. And the whole idea was providing support for students. So my background is really, and as an educator, as a teacher, as a trainer, I started a nonprofit center that was connected with Apple and IBM and major software and hardware developers around the world. And I got to train and support learners around the world. And so it was wonderful for me to have that opportunity to teach, to educate, to expand people, to make them as independent as they could be. And then I retired because what else was there to do? But one day, as I was in the car, I heard about this tool, ChatGPT. And I immediately downloaded it and put it on my phone and started to play with it. And then I actually went over to my daughter's house and she said, oh my gosh, I have to upload this abstract or this this little bio on the web and I don't know how to do it and I don't have the time. I said, look, I found this new tool. I said, give me your resume. Gave me a resume. In 2 seconds, she had a wonderful bio. She said, I didn't know I sounded that good. And it was just that time to realize what is going on. And eventually it became this family adventures from A to Z using ChatGPT. And the book is about helping people on that journey, helping that people go, whoa, I had no idea. Really? And the other side of that, because I'm a teacher, because I'm a mom, to create activities, to showcase activities that have families to communicate and connect. And that's where I'm going with all of this.
Take us back to your first experience again with AI. You talked about how you heard about it, downloaded the app, explored it. Roughly, when was this in the whole breakthrough of when AI came out? Was it early on? Was it had already been around for a couple of years? Was it, during the pandemic?
Well, to my knowledge, it hasn't been out that long. AI's been out, but ChatGPT has not. I wasn't getting into AI. I was getting into a tool that I saw that could magically help people. And so that's where it came together. That's where I got to put it together and realize this is pretty cool and it's free. It's free. I can have it on my iPad. I can have it on my phone. I can have it on my computer. It will talk to me. It'll support me. It's like, who could ask for more than that? And so what I wanted to do is really say, okay, let's just see what we can really do with this.
So then it became an idea for a book. Is that something that just kind of came to you, or is this something that you've always wanted to do, write a book?
I never thought about writing a book. Who thinks about writing books? But my background, I'm an educator, I'm a trainer. And so to me, everything becomes a tutorial. Everything becomes a step-by-step guide. Everything becomes a tool to give to you. And then I step back and you're empowered. So here's a whole book that follows that pattern.
And I know it has A to Z in the title, and I have a question pertaining to that. But I want to just insert a note here, and you can expand upon it for me. But to the listener, this book is not just 26 ideas for AI. There is that section that you have at the beginning for, AI for dummies, essentially could be like the subtitle. Excuse me. Yeah. But you do go to that very basic for the person who is absolutely new to AI as to how it works and what they can do, correct?
Correct. And that was a part of my message. I can't teach you anything if I don't have a foundation. So I want you to have that foundation. And would you like me to go into the explanation of what ChatGPT is?
Please do.
Okay, well, I will, because I think that's really important for people to understand. They see this chat. Well, we know what chat is. You can talk to somebody, you can connect, you can communicate. But what about the G? Well, the G is it's generative, which means that it can generate all kinds of language patterns. It has the ability to put speech together, whether it's English, Italian, German, Hungarian, all kinds of stories I can share with that. But it's been trained so that it knows the language pattern. And once it knows the language pattern, it can support you, and it can be as simple or as sophisticated as you need it to be. So it generates this text. But how does it get there? Well, it's been pre-trained. So the P starts for pre-training. And what is it trained on? It's trained on the internet. It's trained on encyclopedias and dictionaries, all the things we had in our living room that nobody ever opened when we were growing up. It's been trained on the web. That's where all that information is, and on literature and on music. So all of that pre-training is just really critical. It's kind of like a student studying for school or studying for a subject. Okay, all that information has to come in. So you've got your language. Now you've been trained on all that information, but how do you let people know about it? And that's where the transformer comes in. That's the T. So you take all that pre-trained knowledge and you transform it into something that can be understood. It can be understood at an 8th grade level, at a 3rd grade level, whatever you need to do. So the whole idea is to be able to chat, because that's a natural way to communicate. You can talk to it, you can type into it, lots of different ways to get information in, copy and paste into it. And then you have the ability to have it generate language for you that you understand. being trained on different information, I put my whole book into ChatGPT. I put my website into ChatGPT. And I said, now help me write introduction letters. Help me write some, Facebook articles, whatever it is. So yeah, the sky's the limit. You just have to realize, oh my gosh, there is no limit. And so that's what ChatGPT stands for. And I think once you understand that foundation, it kind of makes more sense. It's not just a bunch of letters. And the whole thing is it's artificial intelligence. So what is artificial intelligence? It's just not real. It's something that we have created. Does it exist? Well, in our minds, it does. Can I hold it? Not really. But that's where this is all coming together.
Talk to me about drawbacks of ChatGPT. It sounds like this is an amazing catch-all tool. Are there any downsides to using ChatGPT or AI in general?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. And I appreciate it because we get this all the time. Yeah. It knows all my information. You know what? I welcome that because I don't have to remember everything. Okay. So, and it means the kids aren't going to be able to write. Do I need to be afraid of something that actually can help me study? Years ago, we had, little cheat sheets and Post-it notes and everything everywhere. You don't have to have that now. You've got it at your fingertips. So I think people are a little reticent to get into it. But I welcome that that dialogue. And I also welcome the dialogue when people say, I'm too old for that. Because nobody is older than me. And we've been to many different book fairs and conferences lately, and it's just interesting when people say, oh, I'm too old to learn that. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, I'm older than you are, so we can't use that excuse. And it's not rational. AI is here. It is part of society. It is part of industry. It is part of the community that we live in. It's on Amazon, it's on Apple, it's on, all of the different devices. Everywhere you look, there's this quote unquote artificial intelligence, which is just helping and supporting us. And so what I think is that fear, it has to be redirected. That fear has to be changed and turned into something that I can actually be successful with.
Well, one of the things I appreciate about your book and also this conversation we've had so far is the framing that AI is a tool. It's not some robot out to get us. This isn't Terminator that we're dealing with. But as soon as I'll speak for myself. As soon as I got to that point where it was a tool, let's use tools to build something great. The next step for me, and I find maybe for some people, is just how big it's overwhelming. That overwhelming nature of where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go? How do I know that I'm doing this right? Where do you find people need to start when it comes to AI?
I think you just have to have an open mind. I mean, people say, oh, did you use AI to write your book? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, the introduction is written by ChatGPT and myself. My philosophy is use the tool to teach the tool. Did I use AI to generate the graphics in the book? Absolutely. I wanted graphics that were ethnically diverse because I'm living in Los Angeles and I don't see just all white or, any specific. I see ethnically diverse. I wanted all ages because that's the society I live in. And I also wanted someone with Down syndrome or a disability because I have a son with Down syndrome. So as Chat generated the graphics and helped me, put it was my ideas. Chat doesn't know anything about Mad Libs or brain teasers or any of the different things that we put in the book. It was my ideas that have been integrated.
So you having written the book with ChatGPT, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about today. Talk to us about that experience because the future is here. I think I'm going to be interviewing a lot more people who are going that route, but I want to hear from you what that experience was like.
It was great. It was great. Let me give you a little scenario. I have a 16-year-old grandson. He wanted to go to Spain for an international baccalaureate program when he got to be in 11th grade. And so I was asked to help him work on his essay. And he showed me what he had written. And I said, did you use ChatGPT? He goes, no, we're not allowed to use that. Teachers don't let us use that. I said, okay, but you're not in school. So let's see what and all of a sudden, what happened was he looked at what Chat wrote and what he wrote. And what was the difference? Well, the difference is sentence structure, number of words in a sentence, and vocabulary. That's what Chat does. So here I have this 16-year-old who's very bright, very articulate, but not necessarily the best writer. But all of a sudden, oh my gosh. And for years, we worked with synonyms and all kinds of language support tools. So he would always get into the thesaurus and do all of that stuff. Well, now it's doing it for him. And then I said to Chat, and no one else will hear this, so we're fine. I said, what level was I put the original essay in, and he goes, well, that's like written at a 5th grade level. Now we're up to 10th grade level. So then it was like, oh my God. So what can it do for you? It can make you sound more articulate. It can help you with your vocabulary. And as you use those vocabulary words, guess what? They become part of your vocabulary. If you never see them, you never know where to draw them from, you've got no foundation. So it's just real important to look at the tool as a support tool. And so do I value the writing of it? Absolutely. Why not? And do I change it? Absolutely. Why not? But that's because I want it to be for me. Okay. And people will say, oh, it won't be me. Well, I think you've got some, let's look at it. Let's discuss it.
That was actually going to be my next question is how do you identify in your book where you start and ChatGPT stops? In other words, do you have a process for identifying this is my voice versus the voice of ChatGPT?
Okay. So Isaac, remember, I'm an educator. And so I have to think about all these things. And one of the focuses of the book is learning how to write a prompt. And so when I put a prompt into ChatGPT in the book, you'll see that the answer is italicized. So that's how you know it came from Chat. Again, to use the tool, to teach the tool. And then I talk about copying and pasting and doing other things. But really the bottom line is, yes, we're going to learn how to ask better and better questions. And that's the key to this whole tool. And so using Chat and acknowledging that I'm using it and acknowledging that it wrote the graphics, I want people to say, oh my goodness, it's pretty darn cool. And so I think as you work with future authors, give them the opportunity to think about brainstorming. I mean, I take walks with my earphones and talk to Chat. Help me plan this out. Let me strategize on a letter I have to write. There's lots of different things that can support writers, and I think AI is a powerful tool.
There was a situation I was in with a copywriter I was working on a project with. And we decided we were going to build a bot using ChatGPT to help us write some of the content. And first off, I was impressed with what I saw, with what I got back, particularly some of the words that were being used. It was on a higher level, reading level than, what I was planning on writing or having written. But one problem we did run into, and I'm curious what your feedback would be on this situation, is we found a redundancy. We found a pattern that was being repeated in a lot of the paragraphs. There was like same number of sentences, same structure, and usually it would use some sort of connect word like however, or it would use if you are looking for XYZ, then and we couldn't find a way to eliminate that to where we were content with the article. So we ended up talking to some people that were smarter than us about it. But I'm curious, how would you have handled that situation?
Well, I think one of the things you can do is say to Chat, this doesn't sound like I wrote it.
Ooh.
So finesse it, or you're repeating this. I mean, again, it's the power of questions. You're not doing what I asked you to do, and you can get as detailed oriented as you want with that stuff. And so really, if I've noticed this pattern, and they'll probably, is it a he or a she, your Chat?
Mine's a guy, actually. I did set up everything as far as like, we're talking, I named it Colin. So it responds to Colin now.
Okay. So I just call her Chat. But yeah, but she will modify and adapt for you, and really the deeper you get, my brother was in publishing, and he wasn't embracing the whole idea of artificial intelligence. But when he read the book, he goes, "This is for publishers. This isn't for you. Realize the whole thing is learning how to ask a question." I go, "Oh, really?" But he said, when I studied publishing, the whole idea was asking questions. The whole purpose of the book is the purpose of these pages, hint, 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 is that I want people to learn how to ask good questions. And when you ask good questions and get deeper and deeper, you get better responses. And if you're not happy with it, then you go, okay, I'm going to say to chat, this isn't working for me. And they will change it. It's really funny how that happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about the book itself. Like you say that your brother mentioned, this is for publishers. This is for everyone. But you identify families as kind of like a core audience for this book. Why did you go with families and close-knit groups like that?
I think there's a few reasons. One is you look around and everyone's on their devices. And the whole premise behind this book is to get people off of their devices. What we have here is a user-friendly interface, a way to engage families. And I like that idea. And I like the idea of being able to, my kids are always playing games that require you ask questions about all different topics and all different things. And in the book, I have chat create a family feud of all different levels and family games of all different levels. And so, excuse me, this was a fun way to do it. I think education should be fun. I think teaching should be fun. I'm coming from having fun.
Mm-hmm. And it shows. It shows in the book, and it shows in the voice of it. So I mentioned early on that I had a question for you pertaining to the title. You have A to Z. Was that because you had 26 ideas already prepared, or did you want the challenge of coming up with one that correlated with every letter of the alphabet?
It was a fun challenge. It definitely was a fun challenge. I studied a lot of Stephen Covey, and it's begin with the end in mind. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to go A to Z, then I've got a whole path ahead of me. All kinds of things that I can go. I don't have to, go from this to this to this. All I have to do is know where I start and then have a pattern developed. And Isaac, the secret to life is really patterns, looking for patterns. So understanding patterns, the pattern of language, the pattern of this book, the pattern of asking prompts. And so what I did in the book, and I'll just read some of the titles so you get the idea. Asking for anecdotes, brain teasers, do it yourself, escape room, family feud fun night, healthy holiday recipes. So I like the alliteration. I like the fun. And I'd like you to kind of be able to think about, wow, if it's Noodle Night Adventure, what do you suppose that chapter's about? Or it's Zest for Zen, a nature adventure. So that alliteration, lighthearted logic lessons, that's also part of the pattern of seeing where we're going, having fun with it. And by the way, there's also study skills, which is really important, and time travel, and going on vacation and planning trips. So the alphabet laid a nice path for me. And the sky was the limit as to how creative I could get with it.
I think my favorite one that you had in there was the Mad Libs. I think it was was it the letter C? I have the list pulled up right here.
The creative comment. Yeah, with the grandchildren. Yeah, that was really fun.
Like you've already been talking about, the sky being the limit just kind of blew my brain of, I love those as a kid. Now there's a bottomless pit of just pursuing this. What was some of your favorite prompts that you ended up presenting in the book?
Well, you bring that up. And the important thing about the Mad Libs, and I can just kind of talk about it a little bit, but the idea was you set a theme, and then you've got three little kiddos who are studying nouns, verbs, and adjectives. So the Mad Libs will be the nouns, verbs, and adjectives. And what's the most important thing to any child? It's all about me. So if I can do a creative Mad Lib including Evie and Leo, put their names in it, make them part of it, all of a sudden everything changes. So again, inclusion, and really looking for a pattern. So, and I do that a lot. I love the asking for anecdotes, and the idea about asking for anecdotes. To me, when I grew up, when I was 16, I learned how to drive on a stick shift. We had a rotary dial telephone. We had black and white TV till it became color. I'm dating myself. But I think it's important for our kids and different generations to realize how different things are nowadays. And so it's been really fun to bring that up and be able to talk to people about that. Really? You had a stick? I mean, my kids now, they have self-driving cars, for heaven's sakes. And they have maps. We didn't have that 50 page, 75 page Thomas guide. Being able to share where we came from. And even in the asking for anecdotes section, I talk about my father came from Russia, immigrated. And so I was able to look up and see what life was like before he left Russia. So again, that's the kind of stuff that I really get excited about. I can't help myself, you know.
Were there any prompts that you wanted to include that you just ran out of space for? Are there any bonus prompts that didn't make the book?
Absolutely. Because of this, I have the website, which shows more ideas. And whenever I talk to anybody, I say, "Are you using ChatGPT? What are you using it for? What prompts are you using? I find all different uses for it that I never really thought about. And so I don't think anyone's going to run out of prompts. And I don't think anyone's going to run out of ideas. But I want to have people be able to share that community and share those ideas. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of I don't think I could run out of any more than we could run out of ideas.
So let's say that you are a parent, which you are, and you're getting a copy of this book. How are you going to incorporate this into family time?
Okay, well, my personal experience, I have 3 children, but my son David has Down syndrome, and he's 47 years old. Movies and videos and wrestling and sports. He likes the teams that are winning the most. But what's amazing to me is that he's a visual learner. I said earlier, he learned speech and language when he learned to read. And so he looks at the pictures, the actors and the actresses, and who this one is. If we're out in public, we live in Los Angeles. Oh, that's so and so. No, David, but he's always right. We like him when we play Trivial Pursuit because he's full of all this trivial information. But what I found is I figured out a way to educate him. And I figured out a way to educate him by using the tools that were available. A lot of text to speech, a lot of language pattern, a lot of supports. And so when I look at this, if you have, and one part of my audience is homeschooling parents, people working with kids who have cognitive and developmental delays. I love that population. It's just been wonderful. And chat is wonderful. Chat is great for, if you have a child with a disability, often you have to go to an IEP meeting and you have to explain the goals and objectives. Chat will do a wonderful job. In the past, if you went to one of those meetings, you were forced to sign something you didn't believe in, and there was no measurement, there was no data, there was no way to track it. Chat will give you all of that. How cool is that? Or when you go to the doctor, well, my child has this, this, or this, then you can get the right questions to ask the doctor. So that whole field of people, and who doesn't have somebody who has some kind of special need or special diet or special whatever. And so I'm not leaving anyone behind.
Talk to me about some of the ethics when it comes to using AI. That's something that I was debating bringing up today, and I think that is a great segue into it, especially someone with your background and expertise. How do we use this tool effectively without it falling into the wrong territory or the wrong hands? How does a parent use the tool to educate their child without, like some of the fears pertaining to the internet were realized, as far as my child is now talking to someone that they shouldn't? What do you see as a precaution or safety rails when it comes to AI?
Well, I think in any kinds of things, whether they're buying magazines or, vaping or doing whatever, you kind of see what they're doing. But what this does is it almost levels the playing field between the student and the parent. Because the student will say, oh, you don't understand or you don't get it. Well, you know what? We can put it into chat. We can take that 8th grade level, bring it down to 3rd grade level, and I can help you study it. And I can help you write the questions and I can help you talk about it. So you can be at that level. And so I think that's an important thing. There's do you know anything about Khan Academy?
No, ma'am.
Khan Academy is it's a website where many schools use it, and they have tutorials and they have step-by-step instructions. Khan is a master of math, okay? And so it's just a wonderful tool. Within ChatGPT, there's something called Tutor Me. It was created by the people at Khan Academy. And the idea was you can take those crazy math problems or those things that your kids are coming home with. You can take a picture of it, put it into chat and into Tutor Me, and it'll guide you step by step. It won't give you the answer, but it'll help reinforce how it was taught in the school. Because there's all these educators and all these people contributing. So that's in my book on page 43. But it is, there's a lot of things in chat that people don't realize. And there's a lot of things with AI. Yes, we can be afraid of it. Yes, we can be, intimidated by it. But I don't buy that nowadays. We could be intimidated by these cell phones. We can be intimidated by almost anything. I think we have to work in partnership with the schools. We've been to these different trainings, and it's funny to me that I had a couple teenagers I was talking to at a book fair. We went to a walk for people with Down syndrome the other day. And I said to these 2 teens, are you using ChatGPT? And one said, well, yeah, I am. And the other one said, I'm not sure. One who was using it, I said, what do you use it for? And she goes, which means she's using it to study. She's using it to she's using it. And why not? I mean, it's so fascinating to me. I was looking for teaching jobs before I decided to write this book. And I would have these interviews and I would have administrators and they would say, okay, so tell me. And I said, well, are you using ChatGPT? Well, yes, we use it for writing. We use it for our reports. We use it for our documentation. We use it for I said, you allow the students to use it? Oh, no, they can't use it. Lots of people lost their jobs recently. We won't get into the economy, but is AI replacing the job or do you have to figure out other ways to use it intelligently? It's not going away. So I'm not one to say I'm afraid of it. I'm wary if the kids use it to write their reports. But then on the other hand, if it's going to help them study and retain the information, because again, how do you learn? Are you visual? Are you kinesthetic? All of the above. So this is really important. And when I was talking a little while ago, kids love to write stories or parents love to tell kids stories at night or whatever. And so I was talking to some parents and I was saying, this is great for telling kids bedtime stories. Because it can, you can get the kid's name in it. He could be an astronaut. He could be a firefighter, whatever you want. They go, oh, that's a great idea. I said, but you know what else chat does? It keeps the text. So when you're done with that, you print it out. And now it becomes a reading lesson. How cool is that? So again, just, I don't think I'll run out of ideas, Isaac.
That's what we call a blessing. That's what we call a good problem.
Yeah.
I resonate so much with what you're saying. When I was taking AI more seriously, I guess if you're adapting it now, it doesn't make you a late adapter. Soon it probably will. But I got into it after the hype had kind of died down. I'm cautious. I like to do my research. I like to see what's possible before I invest my time. And I found that some of my clients in one of the businesses that I run was very adamant about not caring how we got the project done. In other words, that was code for use AI, don't use AI. I don't care. I want the result. And I'm blown away because that's becoming more and more the norm. It's this respect to the fact that you're the expert with the tools to get the task done. It's become this tool in the toolbox that just is left to me to use to still be the expert, to still be what it is that I am. I just happen to use a tool that everyone else is using. And that is, talking about job security, again, not going into the economy, but going into just what's possible if you educate yourself and you're ready. I find myself somewhat more secure in my role with some of these contracts compared to how some people have painted the AI. So I resonate very strongly. And I want to ask you, what do you see coming in the future? Well, let's talk about the education system. What do you see coming in the future in regards to how it's going to look in the next 5 years, thanks to AI?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a really, I think, when I talked to you about this Tutor Me from Khan Academy, about having the experts help shape the tools. We don't have to be afraid, oh, those kids, they're going to do whatever. It's like, let's provide a learning environment where we really can, make a difference. My goodness, when I was in high school, we were using typewriters. And then there were computers. And it's like, well, you can't write on a computer because it's not your thoughts. Because what happened was when people wrote on the computers, they actually wrote a lot more. I'm dysgraphic. I have trouble forming the letters. Why should that impede my ability to write? And kids who, you can't read their handwriting, a lot of these guys, they have trouble writing, getting ideas on paper, but typing is a whole nother world. So I see lots of potential. I see lots of opportunities for for support within the educational system once they buy into it and once they understand the process. And the other thing that I do, I don't know if you do this, but I got a new computer. And if I have trouble with a menu or something, I take a picture of the screen and I say, chat, what's wrong? I don't have to call the plumber at 2:00 in the morning, unless I really need it, but I can figure this out. And these darn remotes, I can figure them out too now. And as far as the Tutor Me, I've got something that a kid can be using at 10 o'clock at night when mom's asleep and I need to finish my homework. So I think teaching good learning skills, good learning strategies is really what it's all about. And we've just touched education. We haven't talked about people in restaurants and all the other possible uses of it. We could go on and on with that as well. So, yeah, I don't think you should use it as an enemy. I don't think you should perceive it as an enemy. And it's very controversial now. And I love it because I've been around long enough to see a lot of controversial things. But I think it's an important and really valuable tool.
Well, with some of the time that we have remaining, I wanted to try something that you suggested and go through doing a chat GTP prompt together. For the audio listeners, I will do my best to vocalize what we're doing, but I highly encourage you to go over to YouTube, following the link in the show notes below, where you can watch real time Suzanne and I go through ChatGPT. So, Suzanne, what should we chat GPT about? I don't even know if that's a verb yet, but I'm going to pretend it is.
What do you want to chat about? Yeah. I want to say, what's a great use for ChatGPT? So you can type it right into that box. And then you press return, enter.
All right. And
there you go.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. Oh my gosh, Isaac, can you imagine all these things that you could do with it?
It just keeps
going. Did you realize that? There goes my whole podcast. But just to start, all the different ways. And it's just that, how long did it take you to do that?
It
just
was
a matter.
Seconds.
And could you take any of those ideas and expand on them? Could you teach them to writers? Could you teach them to, new authors, or whatever it happens to be. I mean, it's just fascinating how quickly it can generate and organize all of that information. And that's what I wanted to show. Now, if we had more time, we could say generate a graphic that did something, or we could say, put this into an advertisement. We can advertise Suzanne's workshops and public speaking engagements.
Mm-hmm.
Sky's the limit. But again, just that easy to generate all that information. And Isaac, if you would just go down to the bottom of that. So when chat's finished, it puts a bunch of tools there. One of them is that copy icon. So you could copy that, put it into Word, put it into any document that you want, put it into a text message, whatever. You could have it read out loud. You could give it thumbs up, thumbs down. Lots of possibilities here. And so again, this is the start. And one of the things we notice on the left-hand side of the screen are all the different chats that Isaac has done before. And whether they're on his computer, whether they're on his phone, whether they're on his iPad, he's got them all together at the same time. You can be in the car, oh, I need that idea, and then you go home and turn it on, it's on your computer. So that memory is better than mine. I don't know about anyone else, but I love having that information that I can revisit all the time.
Oh, fantastic. Well, one of the tools that you've brought up before has been your website, and I know it pairs very tightly with the community and the contents of the book. What would you tell someone if they are trying to get to know you or your content better?
Okay, so first of all, nobody works alone, or at least in my world. I found a company. I wrote the book, and then I needed someone to help me publish it and promote it. And I found this little company called Berkeley Publishers, and they created this website. I told them what I wanted. We've worked on it together. But the idea behind the website was next steps, where to go next with these tools. Now, you can buy the book on Amazon, on the website, on Barnes & Noble. Where you're going now is the spinner. So if you just click the spinner on the bottom, it'll spin to a letter. And maybe today we'll find a new letter. One of the things we can do, yogurt and yeast. Let's have some fun with that today. So it kind of gives you a little introduction to what the different chapters are in the book. And again, the website is free. You can just go ahead and log in and have some fun with it. Let's try one more letter for the heck of it, see what comes up. It's always going to be random, but it's always going to go, I had no idea. Okay. An escape room. Everyone's talking about escape rooms, but what if we turned David's room into an escape room and had clues and had, so we can really have a nice little party that's in a safe environment. So that's kind of the spinner. We go down a little further. There's a little bit of my background and where I'm coming from. You can see that I just started college. No, it's just been wonderful. It's been wonderful to be an author. It's wonderful to think about the possibilities. And it's a wonderful thing to think about sharing that information. So that's about the author. This is a little bit about the book and about ChatGPT and learning more about it. And that's really important too. And then if we scroll down a little further, there's the idea exchange. And this is where I want people to network and communicate. So there's chat tips, how to take a picture with chat. They're all little tutorials, how to have some fun, go out and talk about different things with chat, ask different questions. The online marketplace is some examples. Like my son-in-law had a lens that he wanted me to sell on Facebook. I had no idea anything about it. I took a picture of it. Chat created the most amazing Facebook ad. And we sold it for like $100.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea what it is. We've done that with treadmills, with commuter bikes. You can sell almost anything. And chat will not only create the ad, but give you some idea of what it would cost on Facebook for the same thing. So that's kind of a nice use of the tools. So I like that idea of an online marketplace. And then the taking the picture, photo, you can take anything from your camera anywhere or use chat to take a picture. If I go out walking, help me find poison ivy, or, let me find tell me about this plant in my neighbor's yard. I want to grow it myself. Or write a poem about these birds that I see. So lots of possibilities. And I think the more we can get people, there's a little button over there that says submit your idea. So if you would submit your idea, you can share it with other people. And that's where the magic happens. We really want to be able to share our ideas and really empower people. And then there's a video. So the Berkeley publishers created this little video. It's about 2.5 minutes, and it just shows different families using the tool outdoors. So whether we're baking, whether we're going on a field trip, whether we're going on vacation, whether we're going bird watching, whatever it is. So this is a nice thing if you want to share with other people about the potential of these family adventures and what that's all about. And in addition to on the website, there's a blog that I have. There's step-by-step instructions. There's a nice Q&A. So again, we can extend this tool and extend the use of the tool into every home. And is that too much to ask? I don't think so. Chat
section.
Yeah, there's a section on ChatGPT. Yeah. And so I really want to find different ways for people to learn and people to be empowered with these tools.
And the host is definitely not typing in his own email to the newsletter right now. No, that is not what's on the screen currently. No.
Yeah, and
there is a newsletter option for those who would like to learn more. So I will personally say that if you join, I will already be there, and we can all be there together.
And you can see on the top the guide. There's lots of things on the website. Berkeley's been very generous. And then if you go to Amazon, if you want to buy the book on Amazon, you go right to Amazon, and there it is, and all information. The book is available on paperback, hardcover, ebook. And so that makes it exciting as well. Whether it's, I envisioned this, I started about a year ago, and I envisioned this as a coffee table book for the holidays, whatever holiday. But I just thought, what a great way for families to go, oh, look at what's this? Let's figure out something to do tonight that's special, and open it up and bring in some new ideas and new strategies.
Oh, fantastic. So a lot of this seems to be very family oriented. So this is mainly something that the family would have for the holiday to sit and find something to do with.
And that's a good question. But we've kind of changed. I mean, yes, there's a wonderful opportunity for the family to have this resource. But to me, I want to hit those educators. And, a lot of those families have teachers in them anyhow, but I want parents to be able to work with their kids. I want teachers to realize there's different strategies that they can use. And I have talked to different teachers who had no idea. I was talking to a teacher from the NYU alumni group the other day, and she said, I had no idea I could do this with my 8th graders. My goodness, this is amazing. So, yeah, I want the teachers. And so is it teachers? Is it families? I've talked to people who are running homeschool, and whole agencies. I want to talk to them. I want to talk to the moms groups and the dads groups. There's a whole thing, people like to write, people get to a certain age and they want to write a recipe book. You can take any recipe, that greasy, stained recipe from grandma, take a picture of it, and that's on the idea exchange, and it becomes a shopping list and the directions, and it's all printed out nicely, and then I can add some graphics and do that cookbook. So is my audience a women's group, men's group, Toastmasters? It really is hard to pin it down, because everywhere you look and everywhere, you get on TV or the newspaper, they're talking about AI and ChatGPT. So my audience is anyone who will listen, Isaac. Anyone who is open to something that can change their lives and can help them. And I think that's a huge task, but it's a small task because, again, it's free. It's accessible, it's available. So it's not a huge investment until I actually feel like, oh my gosh, look what I can do that I couldn't do before. And when I ran the nonprofit resource center at the hospital, I was working with people who had stroke and traumatic brain injury. And Apple did an ad on one of the women I was working with who had a stroke. And at that time, we were talking the 90s, it said, technology allows ordinary people to do extraordinary things and extraordinary people to do ordinary things. And that kind of sums it up, you know? So that's my audience.
Well, I think those people are going to be in our audience today or whatever day it is that they end up listening to this episode. But Suzanne, thank you so much for making the time, coming on and educating us and having this conversation today.
Thank you. This has been great fun. I appreciate it.
If anyone wants to connect with you in regards to questions about ChatGPT or the community or just getting a copy of the book, what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, my website is chatandsuzanne.com. And you saw there are places to sign up and ask me questions there. And the email is chatandsuzanne@gmail.com. It's all one word. And I tried to make it easy. I tried to make it something people could remember because that's what it's all about.
And we will have both the link to the website and the email down in the show notes below.
Yeah. And a shout out to Berkeley Publishers and Carl Dust, who was my publishing consultant, because they were very supportive and very helpful as I put all this together. And I think that's an important part of all of this. It's kind of like, I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I need to call on the resources that are available to me. So thank you.
Thank you. If you would like a copy of Suzanne's book, you can find it on her website or follow the links down in the show notes below where everything's available that we talked about in today's episode. If you got something good out of today's episode, be sure that you let us know with a comment or a review. Be sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And with that out of the way, we will see you next time.